Because we're live. Haha. I hope. I hope I hope I did it right for once because I'm like always messing something up and it's like there's a lot less for me to do this time, so it's a lot easier for me, but I'm just always anxious about it. So, how's everyone? We're back another week, Loose Canon, talking about the Outliers. The three. We're like, what was it called in Game of Thrones? The War of Five Kings or something like that.
The what?
Yes,
In the
pretty sure
in
it's
Game of
more.
Thrones,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
because we're about to have the War of Three Kells coming up.
Mm, yeah. It's
Yeah.
kind of weird, I've been a Varix fan
Hmm.
for a long time, and it's interesting the way that things have played out over the past year. Like, uh, that's totally changed.
Yeah.
Past kind of year and a half, I guess. It's totally yeah,
Yeah,
it's totally
I want to
different.
recast my vote for Kell of Kells.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Said I want to recast my vote for Kell of Kells.
Hmm. Oh, let me just
Damn it! I thought I
go in
muted
there.
myself, and I don't think I did. 'Cause I didn't want to go typing on the show. So basically, long ago we were all there for the House of Wolves. We had Skolas come up and be like, "I'm the Kill of Kills," and everyone's like, "No, you're stupid. You're crazy. You can never unite the Fallen under one banner." And then ultimately, what ended up happening is Aldrin was the source of
Mm.
that. The King's Kell Krask. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Bent his knee to Aldrin and said, "You will make the Fallen better again. You'll fix us. You'll unite us and lead us." And of course, Aldrin just kind of flipped that. And although he made the House of Dusk, he wasn't the Kell of Kells. And now we have three contenders for that crown, for that title, and it is Varix, who that is such a character flip. Varix has been like so against the idea of being a Kell. He's like, I'm not a Kell, I'm a scribe. Like I know my place. And
Hmm.
just so much shit has happened that he's like, all right, I gotta do it. I'm the only one left.
Yeah. Yeah.
It has been kind of building up like since the very beginning. Like House of Wolves even like
I mean, I
laid foundation
disagree.
for him being the Kell of Kells.
Everyone was saying that, but he never wanted it. He was like, I will never be the
Yeah.
Kill of Kells. Stop saying that, and it's just,
But there was stuff around him that kind of laid it, like the whole like because there was the prophecy that we had that we got
yeah,
for the Kell of Kells.
from the House of
So there
Rain.
was like him saying he wanted to be Kell of Kells, but there was other stuff that was like, I think Varix might be the like become the Kell of Kells. That might happen.
I mean, I think that's it's a lot of people talked about it, but at the same time, it wasn't until like the way that was kind of described, the way that was explained, where Varric kind of, as Anon said, realizes he's the last one who remembers what the old Elixir culture was like. Pretty much,
Yeah.
he's now having to take it on his own. Like he's seriously considering himself as a leader because there's nobody else for him to look to. And I think that wasn't the case up until Forsaken.
Hmm.
Like it. Yeah, I think the main reason that people considered Varix for Kell of Kells is because for a long time, he was the only friendly Elixir
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
that we
like
had.
because obviously, if we're gonna get a Kill of Kells, we want a Kill of Kells who's gonna be on our side. We don't want
Yeah,
someone who's gonna be like, and now destroy the city. Like,
yeah. And I mean, I feel as though, like, if you imagine in Destiny 1, the only friendly Elixir that we had was the spider, and we didn't meet Varix until much later. I wonder. I still. I think some people would have said, "Oh, maybe Spider's going to be the Kell of Kells."
But
Which
he hates kills as well.
yeah,
But
well,
actually,
it does. But you know what I mean? Like that's kind of that's almost like a trope, that yeah.
so let me rephrase it
Warwick's was
then.
also always kind of like a nicer guy too.
Hmm.
Like Spider's kind of creepy and like yeah, he probably is just gonna sit in his hole. But like Varix was at least like nice
Yeah.
and seemed to have some power, especially with connection to the Queen. So it's like ooh,
Mhm.
Varix.
Yeah, Varix tried to be our friends. He was like very like I want you to trust me and I want to trust you. It was very give and take, like giving us the opportunity and stuff.
Mhm.
But actually, let me rephrase it because Atlas in chat brings up that Fikrul should be a contender, which is true. Fikrul is not trying
Mhm.
to make the Elixni together. Fikrul's trying to make the Elixni the Scorn together. And then also there is the Spider, who, while they might not be running for Kell of Kells, do you think that they would actually kind of get wrapped up into this, where they're just fighting for their own presence and like their ability to stay how they are? Like, would Mithrax, would Fikrul, would Varix, would Aramis go after the Spider for running his like kind of crime syndicate that he's got going?
Well, I mean, I think especially Varix is,
And I'll be right back.
like, yeah, I think especially Varix is so focused on like, the old ways and the traditions. I think, yeah, mega. I think I don't think Varix could exist in a world where the spider has as much power as he does. I don't think he would be willing to kind of concede that there's this crime lord that has so much influence over the remaining Elixni. Um, I don't think we know enough uh, about Mithrax, or about well, I don't know. I mean, so I was just saying I don't think Varix and the spider can coexist.
Yeah,
I don't. I
exactly.
feel as though they have such opposing worldviews.
Mm-hmm.
But
When
haven't
it
they
comes to,
been coexisting?
Yeah, but
I
like
mean,
grudgingly.
yeah, I think that they've been coexisting, but that's where Varix is not a leader. Varix is not the Kell of Kells, and I think,
Yeah, but the spider also isn't in like his territory. So that would, I mean, that has to be another thing to consider. If Varix does take over, the spider
But
still is in awoken territory. So
but it
would Varix
does it
test
matter
that,
about
like
the
try
territory?
that?
yeah, I don't think
It
it
does
does.
when
It's
he's on
like
the other side of it.
If
I
Varix is building the Fallen together, let's say Varix succeeds, he wants the Elixni to be the Elixni, not to be the Fallen, not to be what Spider wants them to be, where they're working as criminals. He wants them to be proud, strong people. And I don't think the Spider can exist in Varix's Kell of Kelhood.
I
mhm.
think it depends. I think if we're looking at Destiny 1 Varix, I think he would let the spider live. So I think Varix's whole kind of ideal would be I want the Elixir to be free, but I want them to be like I want them to choose to be free. I'm not gonna
Mm,
go like capture them and force them to be what I want them to be. But
mhm.
after the events of Forsaken, where he has done some crazy stuff, like and been a bit more radical, like I could possibly see him like taking out the spider and going, nope, we need like we're going downhill and I'm gonna take over and take over everything to try to save the Elixir.
Yeah. I mean, I think to me it boils down to the old ways and the new ways, and the spider seems to it's not he's completely embraced. He's kind of one of these characters who is he's so self interested. He is he's most concerned in how he can make himself comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he has found this niche in the current world of Destiny to be able to exploit people and build up his influence. Like he's a crime lord. That's he's found ways to exist by like you know inserting himself, like like putting himself into these places where he can be like an intermediary for illicit activity and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And I do think that Varix has this. He talks about in some of the entries, about the old Elixni ways,
Mm-hmm.
and before the barbarism of Skolas and various different people. And I think the spider represents almost like uh, an obstacle to getting back to that situation, to getting back to that world where the Elixni are a proud race.
Mm-hmm.
Like even I mean I understand, yeah, that they are different territories. They are, like, who knows where Varix is right now? Does it mention where he is at the moment? I don't know if it does.
Repeated chuckling deep in his throat. No, just
Yeah.
at least in the last entry of most loyal, which I
Mhm.
pulled up to mention because Guardian, you said if we were dealing with like Destiny 1 Varix, he might let Spider live, and I kind of agree. He would be like a little less confrontational, but like we're really not dealing with Destiny 1 Varix anymore. We're dealing with a whole new Varix that we know so little about, and the last entry really shows it. It's where loyalty lies in the book most loyal. Like the last three paragraphs or lines. The great machine stood in judgment. Elixni fell to fighting, fell to hate, emotion caught in his voice. Cannot stomach this hate. As he spoke, the ship's engine rumbled to life. On the screens, Varix could see explosions resonating through the prison, his former charges running rampant. His ship passed through the bay's barrier and began to move off. Nowhere else to go, nowhere else to be here. No one else to be here. He drew himself up to his full height, and so I become Varix the Kell. House Judgment, envoy of to the Elixni people. No choice, he repeated, chuckling deep in his throat. His voice was calm. Elixni must rise. Yes.
So I kind of have a question. What is the timeline of when Mithrax showed up? Like, when did he show up?
Well, I mean, when we say show up, I think the first time that he was mentioned is on on Titan.
And in the quest, enemy of my enemy, during the Rat King's quest, we see Mithrax, who is a Dusk captain, and he has like a small
So when
team
does he
of
come
dregs.
back?
And then he comes back. He completely silent on Mithrax until Forsaken, when we get two or three entries of him through the Lord of Wolves and the Queenbreaker bow, where we find that he's actually now working with Guardians. So
So
there's
what
this
if, like, this is random speculation, like totally random speculation. What if Varix has something to do with Mithrax? Because Varix is trying to get them to, like, become noble again, and the whole kind of, like, goal of the Elixni was pretty much to become, like, one with the Great Machine, as the Guardians have. So what if Varix, based on, like, his, like, the ether stuff in the prison, was able to find a way to do that with light to Mithrax, creating a fallen Guardian, and that's how Mithrax starts.
Well, I mean, so the entry in the Stolen Intelligence book, Outliers.
Mm-hmm.
It lists the four. Well, yeah, it lists the four Elixni that we. So it says several personalities have emerged as potential leaders. First, the would-be integrationists, where it lists Varix and Mithrax. And then the would-be separatists, where it lists Fickrel and Aramis.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Fickrel is an interesting one because, as Anon was saying, his own belief is kind of, he wants to see an end to the Kells. He wants to see the rise of the Scorn
Mm-hmm.
rather than the rise of the Elixni, and Aramis kind of it has the perspective of Aramis is to kind of bring back the kind of the houses that we know of from Destiny 1, effectively. That's my It says here, field reports indicate that she is rallying violent dissidents to reconstruct House Devils from the ground up. So her perspective is, she wants to see the Fallen back to the point that they were in Destiny 1's period. That's my interpretation. So I do think that Varix and Mithrax are similar in that what they want is to see, the rise of a different kind of Elixni. But I think it's different. Varix. I almost feel as though Varix wants to separate. It's hard to say for certain, but I feel as though Varix wants to separate the Elixni from Guardians. He wants to see a return to the proud Elixni race that existed before the Whirlwind.
I agree.
Whereas Mithrax, is there music playing?
Someone's playing Destiny.
Oh, hang on. Yeah. My update finally installed.
Only took an hour.
Yeah, it took a long time. Yeah, I think Mithrax is more interested in like this new world, and seeing like this is the way things are now. The Traveler has created the Guardians, and we just we have to we have more in common than we have we have more in common than the former houses would have led us to believe, and that we should have a new house where we embrace our commonality.
Which is actually like really crazy, because when Skolas was becoming or trying to become Kell of Kells, he stands up in front of the House of Wolves and the House of Winter, I think it was, and he's saying shit like the Guardians are the killer of children. Like he is just throwing out like horrible things, associating it with us. And now Mithrax is coming into saying like, no, they're not that bad. Like we are actually very similar. We're fighting the same enemies, but for some reason we're still fighting each other. Like we don't need to keep doing this. We can work together. And I completely agree that Varix wants it to be Elixni. Mithrax understands they are now fallen, but he thinks they can rise. Aramis kind of wants to be, it's like they have the past, the middle, and the future. Mithrax wants the future, Varix wants the past, Aramis wants the middle, and then there's Fickrel, who just wants absolutely like destruction of all of that.
Yeah. It's almost like a tangent off that. I'm just imagining like Dr. Emmett Brown drawing a timeline and then skewing off is like the alternate 1950s.
We will put the Infinity Stones back in place. It will be fine, and nothing will go wrong. No one will run off with an Infinity Stone. No one will decide to stay in the past, making a new future for them. No, that will not happen.
I feel like we should be careful here.
Yeah.
All right. So
I'm not saying exactly what's happening.
No, I know. It's a slippery slope. Because if I was going to reply, and then I thought, no, I actually
technically,
shouldn't.
And I'm just saying, technically, the Russo brothers gave permission after last Monday, so.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah. So.
Get us back.
A question. Yeah. So, with Season of Opulence coming up next, and then assuming we have a September big DLC, do you think anything is going to happen with the Fallen before? Is the Fallen is all of this going to lead up to the next big expansion, or is it going to continue as behind the scenes stuff? What do you guys think?
So, Baxter actually read the theory. So are you gonna go through with that? You're gonna manually post it?
Yes.
Okay. So then,
but still, go ahead and
Well, yeah, I'm just gonna say a little piece of it. So I wrote up this pretty lengthy theory about what Season of Opulence will be, because we got the raid title, the Crown of Sorrow, and everyone's like, oh, it's got to be the Weapons of Sorrow, it's got to be the Books of Sorrow, it's got to be the Hive, and I went through the several possibilities that it could be, not just it's the Hive or it's not the Hive. Excuse me. And so I actually think there is a possibility, not a good possibility, but a possibility that the raid Crown of Sorrow might feature Siva, might feature Fallen, might feature Splicers. Nessus is one of the only other planets that we know has a cache of Siva on it, and it's entirely possible that the Leviathan were to have consumed that piece of Nessus or just that Siva in general. And if so, I'm not thinking that Siva is infecting the ship per se, but with 0 Hour, we see what Aramis is up to. Aramis is like, I need to build an army. I'm going to do that with Siva. And if we stopped Aramis in the tower, but there's Siva on the Leviathan, that seems to be her next target.
Yeah, because that ship is extremely, like, probably the most powerful thing in our solar
Yeah.
system.
Especially that.
And
If she has that,
yeah.
she wins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the only reason we're not dead is because Callus is
On her
just
side.
like, nah,
Yeah.
I'm chill. Just want to party.
Yeah. You don't need
Just
this
here
planet.
for the wine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that would make sense. That would feel like a natural progression of stories.
Yeah.
Of, like,
Yeah.
bringing that into season op, because it wouldn't make sense to just have season opens be like, hey, you guys want to come back to my ship and party some more?
Yeah.
Like,
It's like,
there has to be, like,
what's
some
the
actual
cause?
story
What's
to
the
it.
reason?
Yeah. If you look at the previous invitations back to the Leviathan, they have tended to have some sort of, like, the original Leviathan raid was very much like Callus just wanted to, like, test us.
But that's
He
not
just
why we
wanted
went
to
there.
see if we could jump through all of these hoops that he'd put together for us.
Yeah. But we went there because it's like,
Because he wanted,
that's a
like,
threat.
I imagine that his shadows perhaps went through a similar set of ordeals. I don't know.
Can you hear
But
me?
with the subsequent
I don't think
invitations,
you can hear me.
it did almost feel as though he was trying to get something else out of it as well. Do you know what I mean?
Can you hear me?
Baxter cannot hear it on.
Did I get disconnected?
Headphones?
You still there?
Hello?
Can you hear us,
I can hear you.
Baxter?
Oh my god.
Baxter
We were
doesn't
just talking about how he was having issues last week and he hopes nothing extra happens. Now he's frozen. Either way, just to continue what he was saying, the first time we went on the Leviathan, it was because, it's a threat. What is this thing? We need to go stop it. And then we find out maybe it's not a threat. Maybe it's a friend. So we go back and we have the Eater of Worlds. We go back and we have the Spire of Stars. So it is weird to go back again. Like, why would we be going back? Oh no, Siva.
Because the
Siva
last
got
two
Baxter.
were. Because the last two were. Because the first one was kind of, I thought was like an initiation.
Mm-hmm.
Was like we just kind of showed up and Cal's like, oh hey, you guys are cool. I could
Yeah.
use you. And the next two was like, hey, come back because I have a problem. Because the first time we destroyed the Eater of Worlds,
Yeah.
which is literally eating his ship from the inside, like causing problems. And the second time we're killing a usurper who's trying to take over. So both times we're helping Kalos, so it makes sense that, like, okay, so what's next? Like, having
Yeah.
something else show up, like, hey, I need your guys' help again.
Oh no, I don't like that. I don't want it to be
Which
me.
I feel bad. Like, I'm kind of excited, but I also feel bad. Because if we end up dealing with Aramis in the Season of Opulence, and Fickrol is being dealt with on a daily basis, that means we'll most likely get mostly friendly AI Fallen. in the
Well, I
next
would
big
hope.
expansion.
Like what I'm really expecting to happen whenever the outcome of the Outliers comes, to full force, I'm expecting to see another quest like we got in Season of the Drifter, where instead of choosing Anor and the Drifter, we're choosing Varix and Mithrax. And it's like, which of the good guys do you want to be on? Do you want to help the Elixni reclaim what they were, or do you want to help the Elixni team up with us?
Yeah.
And ultimately the bad guys will be Aramis and possibly also Fickrol, because Fickrol, for those not Fickrol's not dead. Fickrol can revive himself. He can then revive his barons. Like, all we did was basically for nothing. It was entirely emotional. It was just, I need to kill you because you killed my friend, and he can't come back, but you can come back. Oh well, like what's your end game? Because it just nothing
Well,
really
like the
even came
strike
of it.
itself is actually like us constantly repeating that strike is canon. Like it is canon that they're sending teams of guardians to kill Fickrul pretty much like every day.
I don't like that. I can accept that Fickrul keeps reviving himself and that Fickrul is alive, but I hate it whenever someone's like the whole Atheon thing. Like Atheon's just reversing time, and every time we go into the raid, we're fighting him again. It's like, no, he's not. He's dead. It's just a
But they
game.
actually like made a comment of that in the Outliers card of like we're daily dispatching guardians to keep Fickrul like
Did they?
contained. It's at the very end of it.
A recent personality known as Fickrul or the Fanatic, a close confederate of the murderer Uldren Sov, has the apparent ability to raise himself from the dead in a manner not dissimilar to ghost-aided resurrection. Though his reign on the Tangled Shore was limited, he possesses sufficient skill, hatred, and motive to warrant ongoing surveillance, giving 4503, who is Uldren, propensity to resurrection, the inherent risk of Uldren reclaiming the body of the murderer Uldren Sov. Of Fickrul reclaiming the body of Uldren Sov from his final resting place in the Dreaming City goes without saying. That is funny. The Vanguard continues to deploy fire teams to suppress Fickrul. Our agents have reached out to the Cryptarchy and the Jensum Scribes to request guidance as to his permanent destruction. But so, he's back. So then all it really says is that continues to deploy fire teams, but not that they are running the strike over and over, Like,
that is true. I just kind of like that was kind of inferring on my part, but it's just like we every day we're going to kill him. So there's like maybe not that strike, but there's like strike teams like
I love the idea of getting another Fickrul strike though. That'd be fucking awesome. Like it's like, oh, we're killing this guy again. Like that'd be awesome.
So I feel like, because what I was saying was like, I think like I would really love if the next big expansion had the Fallen as allies.
Please.
And at the same time, I would hate it because I so want to have like actual Fallen and.
Well,
like,
we would still have Aramis.
It's true, but it's not the same. Like I want like I mean, it depends on how they do opposites. Like, but I want like with Forsaken, how we got to go into the Awoken homeworld, like and see that. Like they've been building worlds a lot better recently, and I really want to see like us go into a true Fallen settlement. And like see that. Like I want that ability to go into like and fight like a real Fallen enemy. Because I feel like for the most part we've had like many bosses. But we never really had like a full boss that was Fallen. It's always been like Siva or
like House of Wolves was the closest we got to an actual Fallen expansion, and it was just pushed into the Prison of Elders, and I was like, ugh. Which is such a shame because the Skolas fight was one of the most interesting fights.
Do you mean with the Vex gates?
No, I mean the poison.
Oh, yeah.
Where you had to pass the poison around and you're just like running around trying to kill him. Like that was so cool. Like that was such an active encounter. Like there was no, okay, sit here and just shoot and you'll be safe. It was like, no, you got to keep moving. You got to do something. You got to give me that poison. You're going to die.
Yeah.
So kind of what I'm hoping is that like the next big expansion is Fallen based. Or maybe we'll see like an actual civil war between the Fallen. So like Season of Opulence would be like us defeating Siva on the Leviathan.
Yeah.
But then like by that point the Siva has become a bigger issue. Or beyond that, like Aramis has created a full army of like devils. So then like in the next big expansion, we aren't dealing with like a grand scale thing. We're literally dealing with like Fallen versus Fallen and helping like Mithrax and Varix fight Aramis and Fickrul. And I feel like that would be really interesting to see that.
That would be cool, but I think there's also a possibility that we might end up. I think I can see us allying with Mithrax. I don't know if I can see us allying with Varix anymore. I feel as though
that's actually That's actually what I just said. I expect in the Fallen expansion, we will get another allegiance quest where we either side with the bad guy Varix or the good guy Mithrax.
You see, I think that's one of the things with the allegiance quests is that then the game has to cater for both scenarios.
Yeah,
You know,
and that's why I think it works, because we have two good guys, Varix and Mithrax, who can both individually succeed in the end,
yeah.
and one bad guy, Aramis, or bad girl, Aramis. That sounds like a dog.
Bad girl.
Aramis.
Mm.
Okay, you made it weird. I said it sounded like a dog.
Yeah. I thought you were going a different direction.
No, I was talking about like when a dog pees on the carpet, but all right.
Yeah. Cool.
I don't know.
Okay.
I could kind of see, like, I feel like I can reason the Vanguard going either way.
Yeah.
Like, one, I could see them reasoning with, like, against Mithrax, because with their kind of stubbornness, seeing something other than Guardian have light could scare them.
So,
And
well,
can
I don't
see
think
Saul going,
Mithrax
I
has
don't
light.
trust that.
I don't think Mithrax is like wielding light in any way. I just want to say that. But so currently Mithrax is in the farm, right? He's not in the tower. But Varix, didn't Varix meet with Zavala and ask him for help?
Oh, he did.
He did.
So
but that
Varix has had tower presence.
Mhm.
Who knows what Varix did?
Well, that was before Forsake.
Yeah, but who knows what Varix did? Like, is it dramatic irony that we know because we have the lore, or is the Vanguard like Varix let them out and now Cade is dead and Varix is the cause, or is everyone else in the dark except for the player knowledge? Like, could Varix get a spot in the tower?
Well, I mean, like the Outliers, the entry is from Stolen Intelligence, which seems to be a report that the Vanguard have access to, and that says that Varix the Loyal directly responsible for the release of the murderer Uldren Sov from the prison of elders.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I think that in this
So they
case
do
that
know. Yeah.
I would presume so, yeah. But at the same time, you could argue that Varix,
He didn't know.
he didn't know. You can follow a chain back and you can say, okay, well, really, this is all, I don't know. You could probably blame somebody in the Golden Age for the fact that you can go so far back and it's like, well, it's so and so's fault that Cade got killed, but it's like actually, like they didn't know. I kind of have mixed feelings of that because if you cause a prison break, then you might realize that somebody's going to get killed. So I don't think Varix is blameless. I'm not saying that, but
He's not
also
directly responsible.
yeah.
Technically, Petra's more
Yeah.
responsible than Varix.
Varix let them out. Cade went up there to deal with it. Cade didn't have to go up there to deal with it. Cade didn't have to be the big hero and drop down on the chandelier down to the bottom. Like he almost killed himself. No, he did kill himself doing that.
He did kill himself doing that.
The ghost had to revive him. Like
yeah. And I don't know if I would really blame Varix totally for that.
I don't blame Varix, but I don't like Varix anymore.
Yeah.
So in the Outliers entry, it does specify that they are recommending to detain Varix, but for Mithrax, they're just like, yeah, we just want more information on it. So they actually do say we're recommending that we detain Varix, but Mithrax, they don't say anything about detaining or capturing. They're just like, yeah, we're trying to contact the Awoken to see if they know anything.
Yeah.
Which kind of to show that they might be against Varix. Because at least with Mithrax, Mithrax is trying to bring the Fallen to what Earth believes is good, which is the light. So if Mithrax is trying to bring people from that and ally with Guardian, that's a lot more positive looking than Varix, who's just no, we want the old Fallen to be how we used to be. Well, that wasn't that great either.
So, while we're on the topic of the Outliers, we had very recently our first almost encounter with Aramis. You know, we've dealt with Fikrul, we've hung out with Varix, we've seen Mithrax a couple times now. Aramis so far is the only one we haven't seen directly, and until this week, even really had any story content of her other than lore, you know. And so Aramis broke into the old tower to steal Siva from a cryptarch vault, and it was actually this like glass showcase has the cutout of it, from which it's basically, the theory is how it's all been presented, that's where an Outbreak Prime was kept. And so just like when D2 launched and we saw Shax with a raise lighter on his back, everyone says, why does Shax have a raise lighter? He doesn't. He has his own. The Cryptarchs did not have our Outbreak Prime. They had their own. But the issue is, when we do complete 0 hour and we defeat the people that Aramis has sent, we don't get an Outbreak Prime. We get an Outbreak Perfected, which might be reason to believe that the Fallen will not be conducting anything with Siva once again. They might be smart enough to have seen something in that and backed off. So, way back in the Rise of Iron, we got our first look at Siva weapons, and they were, like, throughout the raid, we had all these legendary weapons, things like the Quantaplasm, which its flavor text reads, Dido A wanderer, your journey will end with Siva, which is the Siva version of the Dido A green shotgun that says, Wanderer, your journey will end with victory. And so basically that was a very prominent theme. The Siva is taking the weapon and converting it into something more. And that was made even more so during the Age of Triumphs. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Anyone? Thank you.
Yes.
Where the weapons came back as exotics, or the primaries came back as exotics. And so, in the case of Fever and Remedy, the hand cannon, it went from Judith D, headshots are strongly encouraged, the powerful Haka Judith D, to Fever and Remedy, Judith D, consumption strongly encouraged, to Fever and Remedy in parentheses now, replicate encouraged, strongly enhanced signature, Escher Zhang. And so the exotics have more of a... The exotics seem to kind of tell this story that, like, they're getting more power. They're replicating signatures. Like in the sense of Chaos Dogma, it goes from consume, enhance, replicate will drown your enemies. Chaos Dogma Exotic goes replicate pain, consume enemies, override sig gunsmith. So it's like the things that are supposed to, like, stop Siva from doing its own thing are being written over, and Siva is allowed to do what it wants. Genesis Chain, if input Siva, echo Shirazi, who was the creator of Siva, output death, ask not in vain. And it's like, so what happens when you put an Outbreak Prime in a glass case and don't touch it for years? It becomes Outbreak Perfected. And it's no longer the same gun that it was years ago. It's Siva. Basically what I'm saying is Siva over the years has been building up this story of rampancy and learning and upgrading itself and being its own boss. And if the Fallen, if Aramis were to go down that path again, it would just be Axis all over again, because that was Siva controlling it. And I'm hoping Aramis is smart enough to say, oh crap, never mind.
That's interesting. I hadn't
Or
thought
what would
of
be
that.
interesting is if we get someone who is intelligent enough to control it.
Like if they can turn it back.
Because we just use it as weapons. Like, we just use Siva as armor and weapons, but we didn't actually try to integrate it into ourselves, which is what Splicers did. Splicers had to literally splice it into the genetic code.
And that's
which is
why
why it went crazy.
I brought up Axis, because at the end of Axis's life, if you like go back and read some Rise of Iron lore, at the end of it all, Axis even is saying like he feels like he's having an out of body experience. The things that his body is doing is not what he's telling it to do. Something else is controlling him because he's completely lost himself.
Yeah. I do think one of the things about Siva, I just really like this idea that it's, you know, this golden age technology that, I mean, don't get me wrong, even in the golden age it was a powerful technology, but because there was so much scientific understanding, like it wasn't seen as this terrible thing at that point. You know, it was like, yeah, we have to be careful with this, but you know, we can ship it all over the place. If it gets out of control, it's not a big deal. You know, it's like, it's almost like, you know, like there's these. I've read before about like how do you deal with things like nuclear waste in such a way that if civilization was to end, our descendants would understand not to go to this place because it's a nuclear waste dump. You know, like in hundreds of thousands of years to come, when the English language, when all languages that are around today have completely disappeared, how do you ensure that people don't wander into Chernobyl?
Yeah.
You know, um, and it's almost the same kind of thing. Like, you know, we obviously nuclear waste is really bad, but it isn't sentient. Like Siva is this thing that, like, basically the only entity that exists in our solar system that we know can actually handle it reasonably safely is Rasputin. And you know, he tried to keep it locked down for a long time until the Iron Lords were like, this would be really handy, and ruined everything. And it's kind of, I don't know, I just love that concept that if Rasputin wasn't around, maybe Siva would be a much bigger enemy. Maybe it would have gotten out of control a lot sooner.
Maybe it
And
would have never been created in the first place.
well, yeah, maybe not.
They've
Maybe not.
like Clovis Bray, they're like, so we're making this super dangerous thing, but don't worry, we got the war mind to handle it.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it is Clovis Bray, so safety comes second.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, and I mean
They
that's
want your
true.
grandkids.
But but when you read through the lore around the creation of Siva, you know, like it seemed more like the military at the time during the Golden Age were the ones that wanted to find
Yeah.
novel applications for it.
Like
Like,
Clovis is like, we can build cities, and the military is like, we can destroy cities.
yeah, yeah. Like reading through the conversation between Shirazi and who was it?
Chen Lanchu.
Yeah. Um,
Squirrel Girl.
it's who?
Squirrel Girl.
Squirrel Girl. Because she glides around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice.
That's
I
what she.
like that.
Wasn't it related to that? It was like a flying squirrel or something.
Yeah. I don't know if it actually.
I don't know.
Did it
Maybe
actually
that's
say
just
that?
me talking. I don't know.
Let me try it. Does it say squirrel? It doesn't say squirrel. But
Well, it should.
does anything say squirrel? Is the word squirrel mentioned anywhere?
Finish your thought.
Yeah. So, what was my thought?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Everyone
like
loves squirrels.
it's really clear that like Shirazi didn't intend for Siva to be as widely used as the military wanted it to be. They were the ones that like pushed it. Now I'm not just defending Clovis Bray. I know that they're like pretty shady organization, but I think with Siva they probably recognized that like this is something that we need to take care with. It's almost like, you know, the guys who, you know, the people who worked on like early nuclear science and you know, they had no idea that it was going to be built into a weapon. And a lot of people, you know, kind of realized too late that actually this is terrible. This is too much. This isn't something that humanity should have access to. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that the parallels
It,
Which, do we have any like successful examples of Siva?
I don't know, but I mean, I guess if we did, we probably wouldn't have heard about them because they're not like the. I guess my understanding of what Siva was supposed to be used for is if you were setting up a new colony, you would take Siva with you, and it would be used to like I don't know if the idea was that Siva would like grow into like a structure, and then it would kind of set, and then the Siva would just be like, I'm done. I don't know.
I think
That,
that's kind of how I understood it.
that's
Was it
how
was
they,
supposed to be
yeah.
like, okay, like design it, like you program it, and it builds what
Mhm.
you've programmed it to be.
Exactly, yeah.
But it doesn't
But
actually ever work like that.
but at the same time, maybe it did work like that. Maybe at some point, like they built colonies that way. But the Siva that we have now, like how do you communicate with Siva? I don't think we have the technology to
You,
communicate with Siva
you need like
anymore.
a USB Z or something, I think.
Exactly.
So what if? Because this has been like over the last like few minutes, like my idea that's kind of been sprouting from this conversation
Red tooth.
is. Um, so what
That's-
if Season of Opulence
Oh,
isn't
God.
us saving the ship from Siva, but what
Mhm.
if it's like, because inside of the ship is the most powerful source of power. No, like there's literally a star that's powering the ship. So what if Aramis has like learned how to properly use Siva and is using that ship to power it and build something? And
Hmm.
that's where we show up, and Aramis is like literally using the ship
Yeah.
as a forge to build Siva stuff.
Yeah,
So
like the
she's
ship
not
is the
trying to
generator.
interact with it like Axis, but trying to use it to build what it was supposed to be. And maybe is smart enough to actually like use it how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like, I really hope, like, maybe not the main story of Season of Opulence, but I really hope, like, within Season of Opulence, we get something that builds up the next thing coming. No matter what it is, I hope we see something. Even if it's just, like, a series of quests that we get halfway through the season, and, just something.
Yeah. But I'm just
But
thinking, like, to me, like, I think it'd be so amazing to see, like, the Fallen, because just having another, like, Fallen Kel show up, like, hey, I'm going to take over the Devils, it's like, okay, this is nothing new. But to see a Kel who's super intelligent
Mm-hmm.
and has actually taken human technology, because Mithrax and Varix are trying to take kind of aspects of humanity and build on it, which is, like, the light side of things. So what if Aramis is trying to take the technology side of things and has found a way to actually use Siva how it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so in like the next big expansion in September, we get literally Aramis with like a fleet of ships.
I'd really
like
like
just
to
a
see
massive
that.
army built with like Siva used properly. So it's not like
Mhm.
licorice and random nodes, but like actual proper Siva.
It is like licorice. You're right.
That's one of my issues with the idea of Siva being used for anything building, because everything that I've seen Siva construct is not anything I'd want to live in.
Yeah.
Well, that's because that Siva was not like designed properly.
You
That
think so?
was with Axis. I think that's with Axis being hooked into it. Because that was when the Fallen started splicing themselves into it.
Yeah, maybe that's
and the whole
what
thing was
fallen
just
houses
like,
look like.
well, it's not what fallen material looks like, but it's like it's nanites. It was Ziva not guided correctly, so it just kind of spread in this random thing where it's like
Oh,
they didn't
yeah.
have someone who knew how to
Yeah.
control it.
So
it's just like
basically,
we just want to take over, and it's just like okay, we'll just do whatever.
if you have like super tiny nanites, like they're like microscopic, but their shape is like this, like whatever the diamond is, whatever that is, like 3-dimensional diamond shape,
Yeah.
What happens when they're not smart enough to actually build something? They just get bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
why we
Yeah.
just see the big
I mean-
diamonds and triangles.
What do you want? Big? Are you sure? Yes, I
like
just
that's
want
all they
big.
knew.
Yeah. I mean, I feel as though it is almost like
Like Pyramid Voltron.
oh my, you're so right. It's like Pyramid Voltron, except it's Siva. It's like I do agree. Like the Devils never really gained control of Siva.
Yeah.
Like they had an almost symbiotic relationship, and so it was as much Siva guiding them as it was them guiding Siva. I think if you were to see it being used in the Golden Age, you wouldn't see these monstrous red weird things.
Mm-hmm.
People, it would have been like, okay, program, build a structure like this. It
Mm-hmm.
might still be, it might still start out red or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, like that's how it
But
would form, but then it would.
yeah, it's like this kind of. It's almost like it's like somebody's hacked together this like extremely powerful technology, and what they've ended up with is something that isn't really. They're not really using it properly. They're
Mm-hmm.
just they're getting what they need out of it, and it's good enough.
It would be really cool to see Aramis actually understand how to use Siva and not just kind of get swept away by it like Axis did.
Hmm.
Especially because, like, when Rise of Iron was announced, like, that super old House of Devils Grimoire card was brought back up, and it was saying how, like, the House of Devils are digging in old Russia looking for something. And everyone's like, oh my god, they were looking for Siva this whole time. So it would be really cool to see, like, yeah, they actually have been looking for Siva that whole time. And that even just a baron like Aramis understood what Siva was and further pursued the idea of Siva and has
Yeah.
already has a better understanding than Axis did.
I mean, the Elixni are incredibly intelligent. Like they've traveled across many star systems to get here.
Mm-hmm.
They've they did have like pretty impressive. Well, they still have quite impressive ships. Scolas. I'm not saying Scolas did this necessarily himself, but Scolas and his army were able to like make use of Vex technology, which
Yeah.
is something that we've
Only
never.
Osiris has really had any
Yeah,
success
yeah.
with.
And even then, I don't know if Osiris has managed to do the same kind of timey-wimey stuff that Skolas was supposedly able to achieve.
Yeah, he pulled the House of
Which-
Fallen through time, like from the
Yeah,
past.
yeah. Which is really, I mean, I don't want to get into that too much, but I don't think that was. I think he could have come up with something better. Anyway, yeah, like, but my point was the Elixni have been able to repurpose a lot of technology, and is a Vex gate more or less complicated than Siva? I don't know.
You know what would be cool though?
Mhm.
If Aramis had, like Guardian suggested, like full power of Siva, and with
Mhm.
Siva she reanimated Axis, and so we had to fight Axis Perfected as like a strike boss,
That would be cool.
and
That'd be
then
awesome.
they can make an Axis Perfected pop, and I can have an Axis
Uh-huh.
pop.
Yeah. You've got your priorities right there.
I do. I'm just like making shit up, hoping it sticks, and then I can get stuff that I want.
Yeah. If you say it often enough.
See, I feel like I've just been wanting so much more from the Fallen,
Yeah,
and I feel like that would be
They've
like
been
so
done
cool
dirty.
to see. Like, yeah, like even though like we actually have a ton of content about them, most of it just feels like they're just still pirates. So I would love to see like an actual like full-on expansion like the size of Forsaken,
hmm
based purely on the Fallen and like a civil war between like Mithrax and Varix, who are dealing with like light infused Elixni and allying with Guardian, and Aramis, who has found a way to perfect Siva.
You keep
And then we
saying
get to
light
see like
infused Elixni, and it really bothers me because I don't think that's at all what's happening with Mithrax.
I don't know what is happening, so that's what I'm just referring to. It's the
Yeah,
it's the
I
easiest way
get
to
it.
explain what's going on, but I don't know
I
what
mean,
it is.
it is, so the house that Mithrax is let me find the card.
It's
The house
House
that
Light.
Mithrax,
It's
yeah.
House Light.
But I don't think that there's anything I don't think there are any Elixni that are kind of.
So there's two things. One of the things is that I think it was actually Varix who said it about Skolas, though, that the House of Kings would never follow Skolas, because for the House of Kings to abandon what they have, the Traveler would need to come down and crown Skolas himself, which that action would be a ghost reviving a fallen as a guardian. The traveler chose them, you know? So there technically, I guess technically there is the possibility that Mithrax, if he was revived by a ghost somehow, you know, like he could be seen as the Kell of Kells. There would be people who would actually follow him, be like, you were chosen, I'm going to follow you. The other thing is also in Most Loyal, I forget which page it is, but when Varix is talking to Cade about how he didn't actually kill Thickrel, Cade's like, no, I golden gun in the chest, he's dead, don't worry. And Varix is like, Elixni have ways. What about Tanyx? What about Mithrax? So there's already this kind of hint that Mithrax has a way of coming back to life. So
yeah, and that's interesting as well. You know, like you could in the mission on Titan, you could choose to spare Mithrax or kill Mithrax. So maybe that's a kind of a nod towards that. The fact that canon wise, you know, was he killed or not? In that
I killed
mission?
him.
You monster.
I was a Arc Strider, and I saw 2 bosses, and I was like, I got this. And I went in there, and I just like swiped once, and they were both evaporated. I mean, no shame.
That's fair. That's fair. I there's so many missions, like there's that I can't remember if it's like a mission or if it's just like a quest type thing or something, where the Vex have imprisoned a bunch of Elixni on
it would have to be Nessus. That's the only shared planet.
Yeah, it is on Nessus. It's like you go into these caves and the Elixni are all in like cages.
What?
And there's some and there's some dialogue about that the Vex said that they would, if they killed each other, the Vex would let the winner out, but none of them attacked each other.
What?
Have you not done that?
I've done everything, and I have not done that.
Well, apparently there's something that you haven't done. It's
Guardian.
like a. Let me look that up afterwards. I did it reasonably recently. I can't remember why.
Guardian,
I think it
do you
was,
remember this?
I don't know.
Let me see.
The Vex had a fight club.
Say that again. You cut out for me. Sorry.
The Vex had a fight club.
Yes.
And they said, whoever survives gets to go. And the Fallen had honor.
And didn't fight each other.
And did bullshit.
Yeah, I think I have it recorded. I mean, I've done it. I've done it more than once.
There's
I
no
did it
way
on...
that happened. They're
it
cutthroat.
did.
They would kill each other.
No, they didn't. I mean, this is. You know what? I don't know if I have it on my hard drive, but I will find it for you. If I have to do it, I'll do it again. I'm pretty sure it's like a patrol or whatever. You know, when you pick it up.
Oh, if
no,
it's a VIP
not,
patrol, then I don't do patrols.
I can't remember. Have I got disconnected again?
I don't remember that.
I don't remember that either. Oh, wait. Anna. I'm just going to say Anna. Anna says it's a mission in Nessus. Heroic adventure. God, I don't remember that. That just sounds so unlike them. I am interested to see, because we're coming close on our time. I am interested to see how the religious aspects of the Fallen will evolve, because so Varix is talking old ways. You know, he wants before Whirlwind, and before Whirlwind, Archons weren't the most important. Is Baxter frozen again? Yeah, he is. Before Whirlwind, Archons were not a big deal, because it wasn't until after Whirlwind when the servitors were such a necessity for life, where they were the pilots, they were the ether givers, you know, like they needed servitors to survive. Otherwise, they would just die out lost in space. That the servitors became religious figureheads, archons became religious figureheads. And like it just really changed how their society existed. And so if Varix is building up this old ways house, the house of judgment, then how are they going to perceive servitors? Are they just a tool, or are they like a religious god?
I think it depends because it really all with so much going on.
Yeah, like with
I think if Varric was just to have a full house to himself, I think the servitors would be considered tools.
yeah.
Because I mean, they were used for everything. They had navigating servitors. Like they weren't just there for ether. They had a lot of other responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
They're basically supercomputers. So I don't think Varix would go with the religious aspect. I don't think he'd have an archon like in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think servitors would definitely be like tools.
So then Thickrel wins. He would destroy all the servitors, obviously.
Yeah, and
Aramis
either let
wins.
all the fallen die or get converted to Scorn.
Well, yeah, they would. And if Thickrel won, then everyone would become a Scorn. If Aramis wins, that's an interesting one because Aramis's full title is Aramis the Ship Stealer, you know? So does she actually feel a little more on that religious side? Is she more like, we need the servitors, they are our gods, they guide us to safety, you know? Like Aramis is an interesting one. And then we kind of have Mithrax, who this time Mithrax, it's funny because we have like Varix going old way, Aramis going like middle, and Mithrax going new way, and Thickrel going destruction. Thickrel stays destruction. Varix stays old way. Mithrax would probably, how would Mithrax handle servitors, do you think?
I think he would treat it also as a tool. I mean, it depends because if he really has found a way to revive himself,
Yeah,
and
then he doesn't
like
need
if something has happened with the light, then they don't need ether anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Theoretically, I mean, it all depends because they still breathe ether,
Yeah.
so they'd have to literally
Fallen biology is weird.
breathe. Yeah, because that's the only downside is they breathe ether like we breathe oxygen, so they can't breathe oxygen. So regardless of, I mean, I guess the Scorn don't need ether, so.
Well, they have a dark ether.
Yeah, so that's still hard because they'd have to have that, unless, like, because Guardians still need food and water and breathe because they can still die from natural stuff. But that means like even if Fallen did become Guardians, they would still need to breathe ether.
Oh yeah.
So they would have to keep servitors around purely just so they could keep breathing ether, unless something happened genetically with like coming back to life that changed that.
But I mean, like that's unprecedented. Like I mean, so are Guardian Elixni.
Yeah, so I mean, it is something where, and I could see them. I don't know, I feel like they'd still have to keep servers because they would still have to have ether.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it's necessary.
Supply. But I think with Mithrax, it would definitely servers would become a lot less common because instead of it being
if he could find
like
a way,
the power
absolutely.
source. Yeah, so it's like, and it wouldn't be like a power source where it's like, oh, you don't get more ether to grow, but it's like we're just built by light.
And here comes Baxter. Maybe just audio. Oh,
but I feel like I'm
it's
just
mobile.
Hello.
Hey, Baxter. Oh, he froze again. That was fast.
So I feel like I'm a giant nerd. So for me, honestly, what I love most is seeing like cultures and seeing more stuff happening besides just like, oh, there's a bad guy, go kill him, like shoot him in the face.
Yeah,
that's where I would love
absolutely.
to see like, I want to see the Fallen like political sides. Like I want to see something more than just like, oh yeah, go kill this guy because he's trying to do something.
Yeah, because
like, I want to see them
like kind of until recently, it was just like, oh, we're the House of Devils. We don't like the House of Winter. Okay, but why? Like your ideals are the same. There's nothing different about you but the colors you wear. Because old feuds, like, all right.
Yeah, and I would really love to see like them really develop the Fallen characters and not just have it end on like the side like it is.
Yeah.
Like I really hope that we get a DLC where we get to see like Aramis going for the trying to rule with technology, Mithrak trying to rule with like kind of by the side of the Guardians, and then
Mhm.
Varric's trying to bring in all the old like culture and history and seeing that side, and then just having Vic rule just like keep trying to lead by destruction.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I think we kind of reached a good point, and Baxter is like, he's in slow mo now. Oh no, he's still in slow mo. I don't know if he can even hear us. I don't know if we can hear him. But Baxter's there, so I'm gonna wave. Maybe he'll see me waving, and he'll wave too, because we're saying bye. We're gonna. Yep.
Bye.
Oh, there he goes. He said bye. We'll be back in 2 weeks, hopefully with Rhino on the 26th, 9:15. I don't know what we'll be talking about. You know, things will be happening. Maybe some Season of Opulence. Maybe some. I don't know. We'll figure something out. Osiris was actually one of the topics I was thinking about this week before we had 0 Hour, and I was like, well, we need to do the Outliers now. So maybe we'll actually touch on Osiris on our next episode.
Cool.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Guardian, say bye this time.
Bye.
About time.